What's up, everyone? Karue here, and today we're gonna talk about what everyone is talking about, João Fonseca. I just got back from the Rio Open and I got to experience the Fonseca hype in first hand. During the time of the week I was there, he was actually in Buenos Aires winning his first title. And honestly, he was the player everyone was talking about, not just the fans, even the players. We would be in the locker room or in the player lounge and everyone would be watching his match. And he was obviously having some epic battles there. And people just couldn't help themselves but to stop and watch. And I think that speaks volumes, right? When your peers are the ones who just can't stop watching and kind of laughing at how good the guy is or the shots that he's coming up with. That's when you know a player is a little bit different and there's a lot of greatness involved. So I work on my video from the Rio Open, my experience there. I figure take a little time to chat about his game, what I see as a player, as someone who's been playing the sport for a very long time. For all in there, he's alive actually, and he's a lot better than me. Goddamn. And I'll also answer some questions that I have here that I posted on Instagram. A lot of people replied to my story. So let's just have a little fun. Let's talk about, again, this rising star, João Fonseca. I'm not here to make any takes or predictions. Take giver. That's why I don't, discuss all these trendy topics that are happening in tennis. It's not my thing. I'm not a Stephen A. Smith kind of guy. But as a player, when you see someone like João at 18 years old playing at the level he's at already, you kind of are forced to pay attention. And I know there's always going to be the he's overhyped kind of people, the ones, they're just keyboard warriors that just you can't have anything nice happen. You just always have to be negative. If you're that kind of person, you're wrong. He is different, he's special, and that's what we're gonna cover today. Let's get the basic stuff out of the way, right? He's obviously technically very sound on every stroke. The forehand and the backhand are incredibly polished. The serve is already very good. I think it will get better with time. Technically, I think eventually they'll make a few changes, but it's still very effective. He's very aggressive with the second serve, which is something that you kind of need to do in today's game. Incredibly good first ball off the serve, off the return. He can take over the points with so much pace so quickly. Again, today's game is those first four shots are so important. Like this new generation of player, he has that body as well, tall, lanky, but he can still move incredibly well around the court. He's pretty quick. He has a high tennis IQ. Obviously, he's gritty. He can battle if needed, but also has the balls to go for, the shots in the big moments. And it's always interesting, again, as a player who's done it for a long time, you see a player his age with such complete control of the game already that it's just impressive to see at 18, he's basically a complete player. I got a lot of questions on tactics and things like that and how he's going to improve as a player. So we'll go over that a little bit later. But I just want to cover the one thing that to me that really stands out when I watch him play. And to me, it's his footwork. He obviously has great technique in the upper body. But if you just pay attention to his lower body, like from hips down, when he's playing, he never really puts a foot wrong. He has this perfect weight transfer into the shot on basically every ball that he hits. And weight transfer is tricky because weight transfer is a lot about timing, right? You can, load and explode very well, but if the timing of it is wrong, then you're basically wasting the energy. It's not going into the ball and obviously to the other side. Like, for example, I've always had great weight transfer on my backhand. That's why my backhand is better. Like, people look at my swing and be like, oh, his swing is so perfect, that's why his backhand is good. But I just understand the timing of the weight transfer on the backhand side just a lot more naturally. Where on my forehand, it's not as natural. I have to think a little bit more, and there's more decisions to be made there. Open stance, semi-open, close. So often I mistime it a little bit, and the stroke becomes a lot like army, and I was just kind of on the upper body. But when you watch João play, he's always leaning into the ball. He's always exploding to the ball from the lower body. Again, great technique up here. Great timing, obviously. Obviously, a tennis match is not played in only one timing, right? Sometimes the point's going to slow down, sometimes it's going to speed up. a lot's going to happen in just one point, and you got to be able to continue to time things correctly. And he does such a good job with that. You know, if he has the time, he's going to like bounce a little bit more, get to the ball, load hit. If it's fast or if he's on the move, he's going to time it right where he's like puts the foot down, hips come through, and then he hits the ball. And he's just leaning into the ball so naturally. And that creates massive power, but also very controllable power. You watch him play, hit some huge winners, but it doesn't feel like extremely forced, right? You just kind of look at it as like, you can kind of do that for extensive periods of time. And that's the hallmark of any great player. That's the hallmark of every good player, but the great players are able to do something that is really difficult for most players for an extensive period of time, right? He can hit that ball big for a long time. He can, because it hits the ball so big, he can go for big targets when needed. Like he can hit winners that aren't necessarily just painting the line. And that obviously creates massive amounts of pressure on the other side, because now you're feeling, okay, where do I hit the ball that this kid is not going to be able to just absolutely spank it back to me? And again, that's what great players do. They are relentless at what they do, and they are in control. For example, last year, I think the best two players I played, the ones that made me feel that way, were Lerner Tien and Ishesh Bazavareti. It wasn't about their power. It wasn't like Fonseca, but they were so consistent, first of all, and so accurate in certain shots, and they could do that for so long that you feel it's like, oh, this is not a bluff. Like, he's not playing out of his mind today. This is what he does, and he'll be able to do, and they'll be able to do this for a long time here. So now I have to figure out how to get them out of that. If you think about Roger, Rafa, Novak, Carlos, Sinner, the guys that have been dominating, let's say, just last few years, it's no secret what they're gonna do in court. We all know how they play, what they're gonna do. Even a guy sitting on his couch knows exactly what they're gonna do. The problem is, if you're on the other side, if you're on the receiving end of that, it's like, what do you do to get them out of that? Because again, they are in control, and that's what makes the best players be the best. And I know it's early, he's only 18, but I do believe that João is going to be around that category. It's just a bit different. I don't think he's overhyped. I think the hype is exactly what he needs to be.
And guys, just a quick break here to thank today's video sponsor, 8 Sleep. As a professional athlete, a solid night of sleep is the best way for me to recharge my batteries. And I've been sleeping a lot better since I got my 8 Sleep pod. And not just me, my wife was a little skeptical in the beginning, but now she's loving it. We have totally different settings for each side of the bed. I like to sleep in a very cold setting. She likes it a little bit warmer. And now we're both getting some unbelievable nights of sleep. The pod uses precision temperature control to regulate your body's sleep cycles. It can cool down to a chilly 55 degrees Fahrenheit or warm up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Another cool thing is that the pod learns your sleep patterns and adjusts the temperature automatically, so it continues to optimize your sleep throughout the night. If the pod detects you're snoring, it will automatically adjust the position of the bed to reduce or completely stop the snoring. It is also a powerful sleep tracker. It's got built-in sensors that monitor your sleep stages, heart rate variability, respiratory rate, and more, all without having to wear any devices. Again, I'm really loving my 8 Sleep pod. I really wish I could take it with me on my trips. So if you're ready to take your sleep to the next level, you can use the code Karue at checkout, and you'll get $350 off your very own Pod 4 Ultra. Again, thanks 8 Sleep for sponsoring the video. Link is in the description.
Well, let's go over a few questions, because I think it's going to get into the tactics of everything and how he's going to improve. And I think often we overcomplicate this. We want things to happen so fast as fans. You want to see this such linear line up. But he's obviously going to have his ups and downs and things like that. So we'll talk about it all here. But let's go over some questions. Someone was like, I haven't seen any analysis of his footwork. That would be great. That's basically what I've just talked about. A lot of people asking about how he generates so much power. Again, we just talked about that. I think it's obviously a combination of a lot of things. But I do believe that his lower body, it's so good that it makes everything a lot easier, especially the power creation. Some people said here, is it maybe too aggressive. And yes, he is slightly too aggressive sometimes. I think he kind of fluctuates into sometimes just only hitting winners. Like I was watching his match against Rublev at the Australian Open, and like from like 5-all in the first set to like 4-1 in the second set, he would only win points by hitting winners. It was the most absurd thing I've ever watched. He had like 30 winners within that span of like 7-5, 4-1. But then like when the match got a little bit more settled and I think it went to the third set and he wasn't hitting as many winners, you could tell there was like, oh, I was just hitting winners and now I'm just kind of being a little bit too passive, and he's going to have to find that middle ground. I think Carlos was also a bit like that. And so I don't think he's overly aggressive. I think he's just young, he's just young and he can hit so many of these shots and winners from so many positions. He has so many resources that, it's going to take him a little bit of time to figure out. It's like, okay, where are my spots? Where are the spots on the court that, I should be going for more, where sometimes I can pull back a little bit. The moments of the match, it's just youth, go for shots that maybe you shouldn't. But if you can hit them, then why not? I think that's what draws you into watching it. So I'm going to ask, what's separating him from the top 10 in level right now? To me, it's just experience. I think when I look at him versus some guys that are in the top 10 right now, I firmly believe he's the better player and he's going to have a much higher ceiling than those guys. But he's young. He needs to go through, losses. He obviously lost first round of Rio Open after all that hype. He's going to have to go through that. He's going to have to get scarred a little bit to figure out how to get to that level. But in terms of pure raw talent, ball striking, upside, I think he's up there with the best in the world already. But again, it's going to take a little time. Again, a lot of people asking tactics and, he's not going to make it because he's too aggressive and he made, he hits 50 winners but makes 50 errors. But again, he's so young, he's so raw that he's going to just have to hone it in, understand his moments. And I think fans often, you guys are unfortunately don't really have the knowledge. You guys aren't helped by tennis commentators to understand all of this. You want this final product, this final João Fonseca to happen immediately, but it won't. It's gonna take a little bit of time, and he's gonna put together his amazing weeks. He's gonna win and beat people, and he's probably gonna play awful at certain places. But that's all, again, it's going to give him scar tissue and understanding of what he needs to do. A couple of people asking about his serve technique. I think it can get better. It's obviously, I'd take his serve. I think his serve is very effective because it's big, it's heavy. He is aggressive with the second serve, but you can tell it's not the most natural. Yeah, I think his ground stroke is a very natural thing. The serve can be a little bit forced. I've seen a couple matches where the first serve kind of goes off and he's missing a lot of first serves and having to play with the second serve a lot more. It's time. They're going to figure out you're doing constant evolution playing this sport, and he has a great team behind him. I actually got to practice at his training facility there. I actually spoke to his coach. Shout out to Valner, who helped me in Rio as well, and the ES Academy. So these are all things that again, you're just in constant evolution. Think about every player that dominated the sport. Rafa had a different forehand every year. He had a different serve every year. Roger evolved, swing got a little compact. Novak, how much he evolved and progressed through the year. They could still win with kind of the strokes that weren't as good, but they continue to evolve. And that's just the natural progression that João's going to have. Some people saying, a lot of times when players are this hyped young, they can't really manage the expectations. I don't think this is going to be the case with him. He clearly seems like he has, a great team behind him. I think his family is also very, close to him. And he's just different. Again, when you're a player, you watch certain, I remember Sinner coming up. I made a video actually on Sinner 4 years ago or something. I remember Sinner coming up. I think he won a challenger. And guys were like, dude, this guy hits the ball on a different level. And so when all the players are just whoa, how does he do that? When all the peers are just almost confused by the level of talent the player has, I think he'll be okay. It doesn't seem like he's someone that's like pursuing fame or the weird things about the sport that can kind of derail some. So he's going to be all right. He's just young, and everyone needs to just be a little bit patient. And lastly, just overall like talent. I think a lot of people are asking, wow, how he has such a high tennis IQ at this age or his level and this and that. And I think, to me, it's like we try to overthink things sometimes. Like, why did it all happen? Was it his training growing up that was better than everyone else's? And it isn't. I think there's certain people who are just different. They have this connection and ability to play the sport at a higher level than their peers. That's just, in general, all of the sports. There are certain players who at 18, they basically already have the level to be playing top 100 tennis. They just need to go through the levels and lose a little bit. And it's not like they're all these players, the ones that we think are so good and are going to succeed, we need to see them lose. Kind of like what happened in Rio. It's good for them when they lose. They'll probably go through a little slump. That will help them build themselves up to the next level. We need it. We need his story to not be just so linear as everyone expects. Oh, is he going to win the French Open already? I'm like, no, calm down. Like, it's going to take a little time. I do think in like 18 months or so, he will be top 10. But don't overthink it. Don't try to like come up with like crazy stories to how he is that good. He is just that good. He obviously he has the right attitude towards the game. He has a great team behind him, great family behind him, and the combination of it all makes him, the star that he is. And so to me, pretty simple. I think he will be the guy to start challenging Carlos and Sinner. I think he's better than this generation like before of Zverev, Tsitsipas, obviously Medvedev. It's a Grand Slam champion. You don't take anything away from him. But to me, and to my eye, I do think he is at that category of Sinner and Alcaraz. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it is. So I wish him all the success because he's exciting to watch. He's one of those players that like you just want to watch, and there's not that many of them out there. But yeah, good luck, João. I'm a fan. Hopefully I can have you on the channel at some point if you end up watching this. I think everyone would love to see it. Yeah, drop a comment below. What do you think it's going to be? His top level, is he going to be number 1 in the world? Is he going to win slams? Let me know in the comments. I'm sure there's going to be some haters, but I'm interesting to see. Thanks for watching. Working on the Rio video. It's going to be fun. And I'll see you guys on the next one.